I am going to be discussing international business operations in terms of importing and exporting goods. First, we are going to talk about importing. Importing is when you bring goods into a country from another country so that you may sell them. Over the years, entrepreneurs have turned to importing products from other countries for reasons such as manufacturing merchandise at a cheaper price. However, there are some issues that come into play with the importation of goods. The first issue involved in importing goods is the laws that surround imports. The United States restricts imports based on safety and quality, so in order for an entrepreneur to get their goods into the United States, they have to follow certain procedures. They must arrive within the port of entry, and they must file entry documents with the port director within 15 days of that entry. These documents include an entry application, a commercial invoice, and packing lists. All goods must then be authorized by Customs and Border Patrol. So what exactly does Customs do? They determine the value of the imported goods. Although the importer is required to value their own goods, they must be appraised by Customs. Customs has 1 year after the entry of the goods to determine the final value, and the importer has 90 days to protest this appraisal. Customs must also assess the accuracy of an invoice and search for any illegal shipments. The U.S. restricts the shipment of many items, such as counterfeit products, hazardous substances, obscene material, explosives, food, drugs, cosmetics, and medical devices. There are also restrictions on the shipment of goods from certain countries such as Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Sudan, Syria, Burma. Other issues that may present themselves to entrepreneurs looking to import goods deal with banking. So when an importer needs to pay an exporter for goods, they may use a letter of credit. A letter of credit is a guarantee by the importer's bank that payment will be given to the exporter. The importer will enter into a sale contract with the exporter. The buyer's credit will be substituted by their bank's credit. A letter of credit will be given to the seller, and the goods will be delivered. Once the exporter shows appropriate documentation to the bank, their payment will be received. The advantages to this are that it reduces the risk of fraud because the exporter has to provide documentation to the bank. It also increases the credit of the importer, creates more opportunities for expansion of business, and allows them to obtain better bargains. There are also some disadvantages because the exporter could receive payment while the importer receives damaged goods. It also can increase the cost of doing business. Cash in advance can also present issues. This can come in many forms, but the most common form are wire transfers, which is the transfer of payments electronically. An advantage of this is that the exporter doesn't have to worry about credit because payment is made in advance. The disadvantages are that it is expensive because banks charge extra fees for international transfers. It can also create confusion for the exchange rate. Importers may also worry about giving payment before they actually receive goods. So a few key takeaways from importing before we move into exporting is that entrepreneurs may want to hire someone to take care of the legal aspects of surrounding imports. That way this person can handle all of the documentation required for customs. And they also should weigh the pros and cons of payment methods to determine what works best for their business. So next we're going to discuss exporting. Exporting is the shipment of goods out of one country and into another. One of the issues entrepreneurs face while exporting goods is determining how to ship their goods. Freight forwarding is the most common method. Freight forwarders arrange the storage and shipment of merchandise for the customers. Some advantages to this are that the logistics are all taken care of by the freight forwarder, and this also makes the export less expensive. Some disadvantages are that the seller has no control over the shipment of the goods, so there's no control over products being delivered undamaged. The seller also has no control over when the shipment will arrive, because the scheduling is all done by the freight forwarders. And quality control could also present a problem, like I said, because other countries have different regulations, so they may accept lower quality products. Another issue presented to entrepreneurs is how to choose buyers overseas. There are many popular directories online that exporters can use to find and select partners. These are a few examples with some of their benefits. They may use international partner search, which allows them to determine their marketability, but it's also expensive. They could use the US exporter directory as well, and it's cheaper, and it allows the buyers to contact the sellers. There's also the Gold Key service, which matches sellers with buyers and allows them to have pre-screened appointments so they can determine if they are a good fit. The Export-Import Bank of the United States also poses some problems. This bank finances the export of U.S. goods and services. This bank has been criticized because its operations tend to focus on financing just one company. It's also limited by Congress in some ways. For example, it has a limit of how much it can actually spend on loans it gives out. And it tends to be a target for fraud as well and struggles to give support to small business owners. In summary, if an entrepreneur is interested in doing business overseas, they must be aware of potential issues that may arise. They must understand the regulations posed on imports, determine the best method of funds transfers and lines of credits, as well as be able to select the right business partner. Thank you for listening.